Have you ever noticed something that makes absolutely no sense? The students who spend the most time studying aren't always the ones who get the highest grades. Think about your own class. There's probably someone who seems relaxed all the time. They aren't constantly talking about homework. They don't pull all-nighters before every exam. They still have time for sports, friends, or hobbies. Yet somehow, when the results come out, their name is always near the top. Meanwhile, someone else spends every evening buried in textbooks and still can't figure out why they're falling behind. Most people explain it with one word: intelligence. But that's the biggest lie students believe, because if intelligence alone decided who succeeded, then every hardworking student would be wasting their time. The truth is far more interesting. Your classmates aren't beating you because they're smarter. They're beating you because they're playing a completely different game, and most students don't even realize the rules. Imagine two runners standing at the starting line. One decides to sprint as fast as possible the second the race begins. The other starts at a steady pace, saving energy for the final stretch. For the first few minutes, the sprinter looks unstoppable. Everyone watching believes they're going to win, but halfway through the race, they slow down. Their legs get heavier. Their breathing becomes harder. Meanwhile, the second runner quietly keeps moving until they pass everyone near the finish line. Studying works exactly the same way. Most students confuse effort with progress. They believe that if they're exhausted, they must be learning. But your brain doesn't reward exhaustion. It rewards efficiency. Here's something your brain will never tell you. It doesn't care how many hours you spend staring at a page. It only cares whether it has a reason to remember what you're reading. Every single day, your brain filters an incredible amount of information. The sound of cars outside your window, the color of someone's shoes, hundreds of conversations, thousands of words. If your brain tried to store everything forever, you'd never be able to think clearly. So instead, it asks one simple question: will this matter later? If the answer isn't obvious, it lets the information disappear. That's why you can remember the chorus of a song you haven't heard in years, but forget an entire chapter you studied last weekend. Your memory isn't broken. Your brain is simply doing its job. Now here's where almost every student unknowingly loses the race. They believe learning happens while they're reading. It doesn't. Reading introduces information. Learning happens when your brain struggles to bring that information back without looking. That's a completely different process. Think about the last movie you watched. You probably didn't memorize every line while you were watching it. But if someone asked you about the story a week later, you'd remember the important moments because your brain reconstructed them from memory. That's exactly what studying should feel like. Every time you close the book and force yourself to remember, you're telling your brain, "This matters. Keep this." Every time you simply reread the page, you're telling your brain, "I don't trust you to remember." And slowly, without realizing it, you become dependent on the book instead of your own mind. There's another trap that's stealing your grades every single day, and it fits inside your pocket. Your phone isn't dangerous because it distracts you for 5 minutes. It's dangerous because it teaches your brain to expect something new every few seconds. One notification, one message, one short video, another scroll. Before long, your attention becomes addicted to novelty. Then you sit down to study, and after 10 minutes, your textbook suddenly feels boring. You think you've lost motivation. You haven't. You've trained your brain to chase stimulation instead of concentration. Focus isn't something you're born with. It's something you practice. Every time you ignore the urge to check your phone, you're making it easier to focus tomorrow. Every time you give in, you're making tomorrow a little harder. The highest performing students understand something that never appears in a textbook. They don't try to win every hour. They try to win every minute. Before they open a book, they already know exactly what they're looking for. They ask better questions. Instead of asking, "How long should I study?" they ask, "What do I need to understand before I stop?" That tiny shift changes everything. Because time doesn't create learning. Attention does. Understanding does. Recalling information does. Anyone can spend 6 hours at a desk. Very few people can spend 1 focused hour thinking deeply. And here's a mistake almost everyone makes the week before an exam. They panic. Suddenly, every chapter feels equally important. They jump from topic to topic, hoping quantity will make up for clarity. But imagine trying to build a house by laying 1 brick in 10 different places. At the end of the day, you've worked hard, but you haven't built anything. Top students build one wall at a time. They master the foundation before moving on. Their confidence doesn't come from studying more. It comes from knowing exactly what they know and exactly what they don't. Failure also means something completely different to them. Most students see a wrong answer as proof they're not smart enough. Top students see it as a map. Every mistake points directly to the next thing they need to improve. They aren't embarrassed when they forget something. They're excited because forgetting reveals where the real work needs to happen. That's why they improve faster. While everyone else is protecting their ego, they're training their brain. Now imagine where you'll be 1 year from today. One version of you keeps doing what almost everyone else does. Longer hours, more stress, more rereading, more frustration. The other version understands how learning actually works. They protect their attention. They challenge their memory instead of avoiding it. They stop measuring progress by hours and start measuring it by understanding. At first, the difference seems small. One extra moment of focus, one better question, one deliberate review. But small decisions repeated every single day create massive results. That's how average students quietly become the ones everyone else admires. So the next time someone tells you the secret to success is simply studying longer, remember this. The goal was never to spend more time with your books. The goal was to spend less time fighting your own brain. Your classmates aren't impossible to beat. They're just following a system that most people never notice. And now, so are you. Because in the end, the students who finish first aren't the ones who sacrifice the most hours. They're the ones who make every hour impossible to waste.